Is it bad that I stem away from Black people? And I feel like the reasons that I'm about to provide is extremely valid, at least to me. So the reason why I stem away from people of my own race is because they've always treated me so horribly growing up, and they made me feel like that I don't belong. Literally in school, I was always made fun of by Black people for some reason. I was the target. Whether if you were white, Latin, Hispanic, Native American, Asian, it did not matter. Everyone of every race has welcomed me and made me feel like I was a part of them. They made me feel comfortable. They never had a problem with me. But with Black people, I was always made fun of. I was turned down. I just never felt like I was a part of them. In school, the only time that they were ever nice to me was when they wanted to get answers from me whenever we were doing schoolwork or a test, just so that they can get a good grade on their assignment. Now, me being the nice, shy kid trying to get out of my bubble, and they just never wanted anything to do with me. So in other words, they would use me and take advantage of me just to get a good grade for themselves, but never wanted anything to do with me outside of the classroom. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with white kids. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with the Latin and Hispanic kids. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with the Asian. Black people always made fun of me for hanging out with goth and emo kids. Literally anybody of any race that I was hanging out with besides Black, I was pushed down for. And to this day, I only have like 3 Black friends. There was also a point in time where I did make some quote unquote friends who were also Black. And every single time that they wanted to hang out, they usually wanted to hang out to go to the stores and steal something. Now me, bitch, I'm not about that life. I obey the law. I told them, no, I don't do stuff like that. That's not right. And guess what? I got pushed down for that. And there was also a time where I was walking home from dance practice, and there were these 2 tall Black guys who ran up to me, pointed a gun at me, and stole everything that I had. Out in the open, cars were passing by, everything. Nobody stopped to look. Nobody stopped to help me. They stole my wallet, which only had my high school ID in there. They stole the money that I had just gotten paid that night because I used to perform at quinceañeras and schools and stuff like that, you know? So we get paid for that. And they stole my purple DGK hat. Man, that was one of my favorite hats too. So ever since then, it just ruined it for me. Black people even make fun of me for the way that I speak to this day. They always make fun of me by saying, Devontae, stop trying to act white, stop trying to sound white. I just like to pronunciate my words, I enunciate my words, and speak in complete sentences, not fragments. And I'm smart because I like to learn new things and I ask questions. I would rather for me to be real and have nobody like me than to pretend to be someone that I'm not just to get people to like me until they find out exactly who I am. But yeah, that's what I've gone through and that's how I felt all these years. What a crazy world we live in.
I'm going to be honest and say that I believe that the fact that this man is rocking this jheri curl and these blue contacts speaks volumes. You know what? Let me just play this intro and let's dive right into it. Let me tell you a story. So I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I grew up around all Black people. Detroit is pretty much 100% Black. Well, that's changing in recent years because, you know, the caves are cave and gentrification is coming. But back when I was growing up, it was pretty much all Black people, right? One day I was walking around. I think this was during COVID because y'all remember during COVID, nobody was outside. It would be like deserted, right? So I decided to go for a walk. I was walking around downtown Detroit and it was like empty. It was so wild because, you know, normally downtown Detroit got a lot of stuff going on, right? So it was totally empty, right? So I'm walking and this car starts following me, like clearly following me because it's like it's behind me and it slows down and it's clearly a steep situation, right? So I'm like, goddamn, bro, I'm about to get snatched up, right? So I turn around and look at this car because you might snatch me up, but you not just gonna run up behind me with my back turned to you. I'm gonna at least smack the shit out of you one good time before you snatch me, okay? So I turn to look at this car and I see that there's some Black guys in the car, right? And that's what this story could be about. This story could be about the fact that there were Black guys in that car plotting on me, right? But let me tell y'all, to my surprise, a second car pulled up. So apparently this second car saw what looked like a shady situation. It's a woman standing there by herself and, you know, a car full of guys creeping up on her, right? So the second car pulls up and there's Black guys in that car too, right? And they asked me, are you okay? So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I might be being paranoid, but it definitely looks like this car is following me, right? So I'm standing there like speaking to the second car, and then the first car finally pulls off after it sat there following me for, I forget, they had to have been following me at least like half a block. Now I forget the specifics because this was 3 years ago now, right? But my point is this. The story could have been about me talking about, yeah, you know, like these black guys was plotting on me in this car. They was following me, whatever, right? But for every story that I have about a black person doing me wrong, I got a story about a black person doing me right, too. How could I sit here and tell this story about those guys in the first car and completely ignore the guys in the second car? How would that be fair? You want to know the funny thing? I remember I was in 8th grade and I was walking down the hallway and there were 2 boys making fun of another boy. Now, from what I recall, the 2 boys who were making fun, they were also in 8th grade, I think. But I don't even really remember who they were. I just think they were in 8th grade for some reason. They had to be. The way the school was set up, they had to be in 8th grade, right? So they were making fun of this boy, and I believe that boy was in 7th grade. And I believe that I knew him. I think we had orchestra together or something. And to be fair, I will tell you right now, that boy was weird. The 7th grader was definitely weird, right? But I stood up for him. I stood up for him against those 2 boys. I was like, y'all got a lot of nerve looking the way that y'all look trying to talk about somebody else. Like, please be so for real with yourselves, right? And I'd be damned if that boy got on the internet today talking about, yeah, black people always made fun of me, and completely crossed me out the story. This is the gag about this man's video and this man's experiences. For every black kid that made fun of him, he know good and well there was somebody defending him. There definitely was. For every black kid who copied off his paper, there was a black kid doing their own work. This whole video that he made was seeping so deeply with self-hatred. Like, and I'm not just saying that because I disagree with what he said about black people and I'm trying to, you know, downplay whatever complaints he had. That's not why I'm saying this. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely issues within the black community. Like, some of that roasting definitely be bold. Like, it be going too far and it definitely hurts people's feelings for real, right? So that's not my point. I'm not saying that he didn't get made fun of in school or anything. But the fact that he sat here and pretended that there was not one single good black person that he came across, that's just, come on, that's clearly biased. The fact that this man had the blue contact wearing audacity to sit here and say, yeah, the only time the black kids were nice to me is when they wanted to copy off my paper because they wanted good grades, is so like, what? Because don't get me wrong, I'm sure there were some black kids who copied. I'm sure there were. The same way when I went to college, there were countless white students and Asian students who copied. Yeah, there's kids who copy in school, definitely so. But for you to sit here and pretend that there were no black kids in them books and doing their thing, either you lying or you went to a school of doofy hoes. You must have went to some damn reform school for niggas in gangs who about to go to jail or something. There's no fucking way you went to any regular ass school and it wasn't a single goddamn kid aside from you who was in them books. There's just no way. And let me be clear. I'm not saying that like he went to some fancy private school to have black students who care about their grades or something. No, I'm talking about any regular ass school. I went to Detroit public schools my whole life. I was not going to great schools, bro. Like, that's just a fact. And there were countless black kids at every school I went to who cared about their grades, right? Again, unless he was in some ridiculous circumstance where he went to like the school for the, I don't know, for the damn who knows who, you just gotta be lying. There's no way you was the only student in the school who cared about his grades. So to sit here and talk about some damn, oh yeah, the only time the black kids like me is when they wanted to copy, as if it wasn't countless other black kids to copy off of, it wasn't countless other black kids who cared about their grades. It's just not giving reality. Now, next, let me tell you why his story about the friends stealing is so funny. Because he said he had a group of friends who were stealing and whatever. Because I have a similar story, actually, right? So in middle school, I went to UPA, right? That school on Antoinette next to Go Lightly, like in the Midtown area, right? So after school, some of my friends and I, we used to walk home. So we'd be off gallivanting, stop at the store, whatever, right? So we stopped at the bookstore, the Wayne State bookstore on Cass, right? And my friends started stealing stuff. So I was like, what the fuck are y'all doing, right? So he was like, girl, shut up. So I shut up because I was scared, because I'm like, shit, if they get caught, I'm going to get in trouble too because I'm with them, right? So they stole their stuff, whatever. We left out. And I was like, man, y'all some ruffian hoes, bro. I'm not never going in the fucking store with y'all again, right? But it's the thing. They didn't put me down or make fun of me or whatever. Like, what? In fact, the reason that they was stealing is because they ain't had no damn money. They couldn't afford a bag of chips or no candy otherwise. They wasn't stealing because they didn't have morals. They were stealing because they lacked, bro. And it's funny because I made a whole video about this. And if I can remember the title of it, I'm going to put it up here. But I found these like FBI statistics and other crazy stuff that were talking about how they did interviews on inmates. And they interviewed like the Black and Hispanic inmates. And they were like, why did you steal? Because like all these people were in prison for stealing, right? So they was like, why were you stealing? And all the Black and Hispanic inmates were like, oh, because I didn't have whatever. Like I needed whatever I was stealing, okay? I was hungry, I needed food, whatever, right? Then they asked the white inmates the same question, and the white inmates said literally hedonistic purposes. Like they stole just for pleasure, not because they needed nothing. Those kids were not stealing because of a lack of morals. And I was not refusing to steal because I had better morals than them. That's what I didn't peep at the time. At the time, I cut up on them. I was like, y'all ruffian hood rat hoes. Like, I'm not finna go to jail with y'all bitches. You know, I cut up on them at the time. But what I realized now as an adult thinking back is those kids were stealing because they had even less than I did. Don't get me wrong. I didn't have a lot. But I could probably get $1 from one of my parents to get a bag of chips. That was back when chips was $1 for a big bag, right? They could not. I remember 2 of those girls specifically. They were sisters. And first of all, they had a single mother. And I always talk about how as bad as I had it growing up, because my family was broke as hell, at least I had 2 parents. Like, you know, that comes with a whole lot of benefits, for real. I remember the first day of 7th grade, in fact. And these are the same 2 girls from the stealing story. I'm going to call them Brittany and Brianna. They were sisters, right? The first day of 7th grade, Brittany and Brianna didn't have school supplies, okay? And I went home and I told my mom, I was like, you know, Brittany and Brianna, they came to school. They didn't have school supplies, right? And my mom sent me to school the next day with a big-ass garbage bag full of notebooks, pens, pencils, you know, sheets of paper, whatever, right? And I remember Brittany and Brianna coming to my locker, and I'm tearing up because I stuffed this garbage bag in my locker. And I remember Brittany and Brianna came to my locker and they were so thankful. They were like, thank you so much. Because like their mother couldn't even afford to get them school supplies. As bad as I had it growing up, I always consider the fact that people had it worse. So yeah, I was, you know, not happy with the fact that my parents had to buy my school clothes from secondhand shops. I remember being in like the Salvation Army and being mad because I was like, yo, this shit is disgusting. Like them Salvation Armies in Detroit are nasty. You go in there, it be mattresses with piss stains all on them and shit. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like I was not impressed at all, right? But at least my parents could get me something to wear and wash it or something. Brittany and Brianna didn't have that. They would come to school with dirty clothes on sometimes. They couldn't even afford school supplies. So I understand that as bad as I had it, they had it even worse. So I'm not about to sit here and say that they stole because they were just so moralist and I was just so high and mighty. No, I understand that they stole because they didn't have no other fucking options. My video is not intended to make excuses for what he went through at the hands of Black people, because I have no doubts that he got made fun of. Because again, look at them blue contacts and look at that jheri curl. If I'm being totally honest with y'all, I would have made fun of him too. In fact, I would make fun of this nigga today because boy, what? But this is my issue. The fact that he found a million issues with the Black community but could not find a single one in any non-Black community. You telling me every non-Black person, because he literally said this, every non-Black person you've come across has embraced you. You've never received a single microaggression. Nobody's ever been racist to you. Nothing, ever. Well, that's just not believable. The same exact way that it's not believable that every Black person you came across was just a total stain on humanity. It makes no sense. If his video had come from a place of honest critique, I would have no issue. Because there are so many things that need to be criticized in our community. In fact, I'm the head complainer. I complain about colorism all the time. I complain about misogyny all the time. I complain about homophobia all the time. In no way am I saying that the Black community is perfect or above any sort of criticism or anything like that. Because quite frankly, that is just not the case. But the fact that he made this video, and again, I'm going to point out them blue contacts and that jheri curl because those speak enough themselves, right? He made this video with the jheri curl and the blue contacts talking about, yeah, black people only wanted to be my friend when they wanted to copy off me, painting us as if we stupid, talking about, yeah, I like to enunciate and pronunciate my words, depicting AAVE as something that only stupid people speak. The fact that he got on here talking his talk is so clear that this is not coming from a place of any honest criticism. It is coming from a place of anti-blackness. Have y'all ever had a situation where somebody gets mad at you or whatever for something that's stupid, and you think to yourself, like, this doesn't even make sense? I think this person just wanted an excuse to go off on me. Like, let me give y'all an example, right? I used to have this group of friends, okay? So me and one girl got into it. I'm gonna call her girl A. We going back and forth, right? And girl B keeps chiming in. And I'm ignoring her because I'm like, girl, nobody's talking to you. But then finally, I'm like, girl, shut the fuck up. Nobody is talking to you, right? So then me and girl B fall out because who is talking to you, right? So this is the thing though. Me and girl A, we were closer friends. Actually, me and girl A were actually friends. Girl B was more so girl A's friend, but you know, we just hung around as a group, right? So me and girl A, we fell out for a second. We was kind of mad, but we made up. But me and girl B never made up because she said she wanted to fight me. She said, oh, it's on site. Now, just as a side note, when I seen her, she ain't do nothing but see me. And I said, girl, I thought it was on site. I thought you was going to slap me when you seen me. And she didn't say shit. But that's just a side note. Whatever, right? So, my point is this, though. Me and girl A, you know, we had our little back and forth. We fell out for a second. We made up, right? Me and girl B never spoke again because that wasn't really my friend to begin with or nothing. And it's just like, girl, once you say you want to fight me, we're never going to be friends again, right? But my point is this. It felt like girl B didn't like me to begin with, and she was just looking for an excuse to finally have a reason to be at odds because the whole thing didn't even make sense. I'm saying this to make a point. The fact that this man can forgive all of the slights and transgressions of non-black people and say that they've all treated him wonderfully all this time, but he's at odds with the black community for what we've done to him. Clearly, that's evidence of the fact that he had issues with blackness to begin with. He was just looking for a way out. So I recorded this video yesterday, and today I came across a video of a woman talking about how this guy was exposed for actually being from Japan. He did some interview, you know, and he admitted that he grew up in Japan. Now, I'm not going to base anything off of that because even though she added the clip, it was like blurry. I couldn't even see what was going on. I don't know, right? So I'm not even going to base anything off of that. What I'm going to talk about is the fact that I clicked on his page and I noticed a video from a couple days ago that actually was recorded before all of this. And that video had a caption of him saying that he's from the suburbs. So, like, I don't know what suburbs y'all be frequenting, but the suburbs that I know of don't have a whole bunch of black people in them. So, what? Now, granted, the caption says, they swear that I sound like this because I'm from the suburbs. So, maybe he's talking about he's from the suburbs, but then his family moved to the city or something, and he went to school with black people, and that's why they said he talks white, okay? Which, first of all, I mean, you grew up around white people, so baby, you do talk white. Like what? But maybe that's what he's saying. So maybe the story does not fall apart. But I'm still confused because everybody I've ever heard of talk about their experiences growing up in the suburbs is talking about how it was rife with racism. So you telling me you grew up in the suburbs and nobody said nothing to you about the fact that you black? Again, that's not even believable.